The courtroom was silent until the doors burst open and Victoria Hale, one of the richest women in the city, walked in wearing diamonds large enough to blind someone. She didn't look around, didn't acknowledge anyone. She simply strutted to the defendant's table like she owned the building. Her heels clicked so sharply that even the bailiff flinched. Judge Rowan entered moments later. Calm, focused, unbothered. But Victoria didn't stand. She didn't even look up. Judge Rowan lifted an eyebrow. Ms. Hale, everyone stands when I enter. Victoria gave a slow, dismissive laugh. I don't stand for anyone beneath my status. Gasps filled the courtroom. Judge Rowan folded her hands. Good, because today you're going to learn that the law is higher than your bank account. Victoria rolled her eyes. Let's just finish this. I have a lunch reservation. The judge's tone cooled even further. You're accused of damaging Mr. Dalton's property and refusing to pay for repairs. Do you deny it? Victoria smirked. I refuse to answer ridiculous questions. My lawyers will handle it. Judge Rowan looked around. Your lawyers are not here. Victoria shrugged. They answer when I call them, not the other way around. The disrespect was so thick the gallery shifted uncomfortably. Judge Rowan leaned forward. Ms. Hale, do you think your wealth gives you permission to ignore this court? Victoria flicked her hair. I don't think. I know. That was the moment everything changed. Judge Rowan pressed a button on her desk. Bailiff, bring in the video evidence. The lights dimmed. The screen lit up. Victoria stood in the video, shouting at an elderly man, Mr. Dalton, while smashing his flower pots and kicking over his handmade wooden sign. Her voice echoed through the courtroom. I can buy this whole street. You're nothing. The entire room froze. Victoria's face drained of color. Judge Rowan spoke calmly. So, is this also beneath your status? Victoria opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Mr. Dalton wiped a tear from his eye in the gallery. She said she'd ruin me if I told anyone. Judge Rowan nodded gently. Not today. She turned to Victoria. You disrespected this court, you lied, and you bullied a man who did nothing to you. Victoria swallowed, finally realizing she was no longer in control. Judge Rowan delivered the verdict like a hammer. You will pay Mr. Dalton $25,000 in damages, another $10,000 in fines for contempt of court, and you will perform 60 hours of community service, where you will stand on the same street you insulted and help the people you looked down on. Gasps, whispers, shock everywhere. Victoria shot to her feet. You can't do that. I'm Victoria Hale. Judge Rowan didn't blink. And I am Judge Rowan. In this room, I outrank your money. The gavel slammed. Victoria's empire of arrogance shattered in seconds. Reporters crowded outside as she walked out, no longer with swagger, but with trembling hands. Mr. Dalton approached the judge afterward with gratitude in his eyes. Thank you for standing up for someone like me. Judge Rowan smiled softly. The law protects everyone, especially those who think no one will protect them. In that day, everyone who watched learned a powerful lesson. Respect is worth more than riches, and even the wealthiest cannot buy their way above justice. As Victoria stepped outside the courthouse, cameras flashed like lightning. Reporters shouted questions she could no longer dodge. For the first time in her life, she had no clever insults, no smug smile, no control. Her driver hesitated before opening the car door, afraid of being dragged into the chaos surrounding her. People who once admired her wealth now whispered about her downfall. Victoria Hale sat in the back seat of her luxury car, staring at the courthouse steps disappearing behind her. She had never felt so exposed. Her perfectly polished nails trembled against the leather seats as she pulled out her phone. Notifications exploded across the screen. News alerts, gossip blogs, viral videos of her humiliation inside Judge Rowan's courtroom. Her face, once adored by high society, now flashed beneath headlines that burned like fire. Wealthy socialite put in her place by judge. Victoria Hale finally faces consequences. Arrogance does not beat evidence. Her driver cleared his throat. Where to, Ms. Hale? Normally she snapped without thinking. But today, even her voice had lost its edge. Just drive. As the car pulled away, Victoria's mind replayed the judge's words again and again. 60 hours of community service. $35,000. Public humiliation. She clenched her fists. How had everything fallen apart so fast? But what she didn't realize yet was that her downfall had only just begun. At home, trouble escalates. Victoria's mansion sat on Hillcrest Avenue, a place where even the street lamps looked expensive. Her house staff lined up as she walked in, heads bowed respectfully, until they noticed her expression. "Ms. Hale," her house manager began gently. "There are reporters waiting at the gate." "How many?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Dozens. And they've been calling non-stop." Victoria groaned. "Release a statement. Something about misunderstanding, misrepresentation, whatever makes me look good." "Yes, ma'am," he replied, though his eyes betrayed discomfort. Even her staff had seen the viral video. There was no misunderstanding. There was only truth broadcast to millions. Victoria stormed up the stairs, seething. She slammed her bedroom door and screamed into her pillow. She wasn't angry at the judge, not really. She was angry because she wasn't used to losing. Ever since she was a child, everything had been handed to her: money, status, influence. People bowed. People obeyed. But Judge Rowan didn't, and that terrified her. Judge Rowan reflects. Back in her chambers, Judge Rowan sipped her tea slowly. Her clerk, Maya, stood nearby. "That was intense," Maya said. Rowan nodded. "People like Victoria Hale walk through life believing rules are decorations. Today, she learned they're not. Do you think she'll appeal?" Rowan chuckled softly. "She can try, but facts are facts. What she did to Mr. Dalton was cruel, and the evidence is clear." Maya hesitated before speaking again. "Do you think she'll learn anything from this?" Rowan placed her cup down. "That depends on whether she's more loyal to her pride or her humanity." The judge had seen hundreds of defendants, rich, poor, scared, angry, but Victoria stood out. Her arrogance was a mask, and people who wear masks usually do it to hide something deeper. Mr. Dalton's renewed hope. Meanwhile, at the small wooden house on Briar Street, Mr. Dalton sat at his kitchen table, staring at the check Judge Rowan had ordered Victoria to pay. For weeks, he had worried how he'd survive the winter after losing his storefront. His wooden crafts were his only income, and Victoria's tantrum had nearly destroyed his livelihood. He wiped a tear from his cheek, not out of sadness, but relief. His daughter, Lily, entered carrying a cup of tea. "Dad, are you okay?" He nodded. "I never thought someone like that would ever face consequences." Lily smiled. "Well, you stood up for yourself, and the judge stood up with you." Mr. Dalton looked at the photos of his rebuilt shop on the table. He'd reopen in 2 weeks. His customers, neighbors, and even strangers had donated time and money to help him fix everything. For the first time in months, he felt hope blooming inside him. Victoria stepped out of the courthouse after signing her community service completion papers, the afternoon breeze brushing her face gently. For the first time in years, she felt something unfamiliar: peace. No bodyguards, no assistant trailing behind her, no entourage blocking the sidewalk. Just Victoria Hale, a woman trying to rebuild her life one honest step at a time. But peace didn't last long. As she reached the street, a cluster of reporters jumped forward. "Victoria, do you feel redeemed after your community service? Are you planning a public apology tour? Will you sue Judge Rowan? Is this the new you, or just a PR strategy?" Victoria inhaled deeply. A month ago, she would have snapped, insulted them, or rushed past without a word. But now she raised her hands calmly. "I'm learning," she said, "and learning isn't instant. Give me time." The reporters blinked, stunned. This was not the arrogant socialite they expected. One journalist, older and kinder than the rest, asked, "What changed you the most?" Victoria smiled sadly. "Having to see the damage I caused with my own hands, and then fixing it with those same hands. That changes a person." Her voice cracked slightly, and for once, no one mocked her for it. Back to the mansion, but it feels different. When she returned home, her house felt strangely hollow. The marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and designer furniture didn't comfort her like they used to. Instead, they reminded her of a life built on image, not substance. Her house manager approached her cautiously. "Ms. Hale, your father called. He's concerned about the media attention." Victoria rubbed her forehead. "Did he even ask how I'm doing?" The manager hesitated. That was the answer. Growing up, her father taught her two things. 1. Winning is everything. 2. Emotions are weaknesses. She once believed him. Now she knew better. "I'll call him later," she said. But she didn't. Not that night. Not the next. A letter from the past. 3 days later, Victoria found a letter in her mailbox. Handwritten, not typed. It was from Mr. Dalton. She opened it carefully. "Dear Ms. Hale, I wanted you to know that my shop reopened yesterday. Customers returned, not because of sympathy, but because they believe in second chances for you and for me. You didn't just pay for the damage. You restored what was broken in both of us. Thank you for trying. Respectfully, Elliot Dalton." Victoria pressed the letter to her chest. For a moment, she allowed herself to cry. Not from guilt, but from gratitude. The charity invitation. Later that week, an unexpected envelope arrived, this one elegant, gold-trimmed. Victoria almost threw it away, expecting another harsh letter from someone angry about her past. But curiosity won. Inside was an invitation. "You are cordially invited to the annual Briar Street Community Art Fair." At the bottom, hosted by Elliot Dalton. Victoria stared at it, stunned. He wasn't just forgiving her. He was including her. She hesitated. Would people stare? Whisper? Laugh? Still, something inside her whispered back. Face them. Show them you've changed. So she decided to go. The art fair surprise. The community fair buzzed with life, colorful stalls, handmade crafts, live music, children laughing. Victoria walked slowly, unsure, scanning the crowd for Mr. Dalton. People noticed her immediately. Some gasped. Some froze. Others whispered. But many simply nodded politely or avoided reacting at all. It wasn't hostility. It was curiosity. Then she saw Mr. Dalton, standing behind a display of wooden carvings. When their eyes met, he waved her over warmly. "You came," he said with a smile. Victoria nodded. "Thank you for inviting me." "I meant it," he replied. "You've earned your place here." Before she could respond, a woman stepped forward, a customer holding a wooden bird carving. "Mr. Dalton, I love this one," she said, then turned to Victoria. "Aren't you that rich lady who, went viral?" Victoria braced herself. "Yes, that was me." The woman shrugged. "Well, everyone messes up. You're here now. That's enough." Victoria almost choked on her relief. A chance to serve again. As Victoria walked around the fair, she noticed a group of volunteers struggling to set up tables for the evening auction. Without thinking, she rushed over. "Can I help?" The volunteers exchanged surprised glances. "You want to help?" Victoria laughed softly. "Yes, I know how to lift things. Wealth didn't make me physically weak." They burst into laughter. Victoria joined them. For the next hour, she carried boxes, arranged crafts, and even hung lights along the stalls. Her expensive shoes got dirty. Her hair frizzed. Her hands got splinters. She didn't care. Somewhere between hanging string lights and organizing art pieces, she realized she hadn't felt this alive in years. Judge Rowan arrives. Just as the sun began to set, the crowd parted as someone familiar arrived. Judge Rowan. She wasn't in her robes, just simple slacks and a blouse. Even without the gavel, her presence commanded quiet respect. Victoria froze. Judge Rowan spotted her and walked over. "Ms. Hale," she said calmly. "I didn't expect to see you here." Victoria swallowed. "I wanted to try. To do something real." Judge Rowan studied her face. Not the makeup, not the jewelry, the sincerity. And she smiled. Not the formal courtroom smile, but a gentle, approving one. "It suits you," the judge said. "Helping others." Victoria blinked. No one had ever said that to her before. "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything." "Don't thank me," Rowan replied. "Thank yourself. You chose this path." The unexpected announcement. Later that evening, Mr. Dalton stepped onto the small stage to make a speech. "Thank you all for supporting the fair," he said. "And before we end the night, I want to invite someone unexpected to join me." Victoria's heart dropped. "Ms. Victoria Hale," he called out. "Please come up." The crowd murmured. Cameras turned. Victoria's palms sweated. She climbed onto the stage slowly. Mr. Dalton continued. "Many of you know what happened between us. Many of you saw the headlines. But what you didn't see was the effort she put in to make things right. She worked harder than anyone expected. She apologized. And she meant it." Victoria stared at him in disbelief. "So tonight," he said, placing a small wooden heart in her hand, "I want to thank her for proving that change is possible, even for those we least expect." The crowd clapped. Some softly, some loudly, some awkwardly, but they clapped. Victoria's throat tightened. She had never felt applause without buying it. Her speech, short but powerful. She stepped up to the microphone. "I used to think I had everything," she began. "Money, status, power. But none of that taught me how to be a decent human being. It took one mistake, a big one, to show me that I lacked the one thing that truly matters: respect." The crowd listened silently. Mr. Dalton didn't have to forgive me. Judge Rowan didn't have to be patient with me. And you all didn't have to accept me standing here today. But you did. Her voice trembled. "I don't expect anyone to forget what I did. I just hope you'll see who I'm trying to become." When she stepped back from the microphone, the applause was louder. A new beginning. As the fair wound down, Victoria stayed to help clean up. Children handed her drawings. Vendors thanked her. Strangers smiled at her, as if she were simply part of the community.